Welcome back to the news at 10. The Archbishop of the Metropolitan See of Lagos is making an appeal to all politicians to embrace peace as the 2019 general election approaches. The Catholic priest made the call at a service held to commemorate the 52nd World Peace Day held at the Holy Cross Cathedral in Lagos.
It's the World Day of Peace for Catholic faithful all over the world. The celebration holds every first day of the year, and parishioners at the Holy Cross Cathedral in Lagos are not left out. The governorship candidates of the two leading political parties in Lagos State were also present to share the significance of the day.
I believe that the message of this year is so very relevant to our country, Nigeria, especially in this year of general elections. This year where there are palpable fears of violence and disorder arising from the tensions that have been building up over time. In the midst of this, the Pope has written to us, and the theme of his message to us is good politics at the service of peace.
Bringing peace is central to the mission of Christ's disciples. That peace is offered to all these men and women who long for peace amid the tragedies and violence that mark human history.
As part of activities lined up to commemorate the day, Association of Media Practitioners and Catholic Artists, as well as entertainers of the Catholic Archdiocese of Lagos, organized a press conference to advocate for peace and oneness amongst politicians as the 2019 general elections draw near.
We're using this message also to tell all of our teaming supporters that it's all about a message of peace, of love, and of ensuring that we go about electioneering in a peaceful and orderly manner.
You see, without peace, you can't make progress. Without peace, there's no development. But peace in itself is not, sometimes can be an end in itself or can be a means to an end.
The theme for the 2019 World Peace Day, Good Politics is at the Service of Peace, is apt, especially as Nigeria prepares for the general election in February.
With recent cases of attacks in Plateau and Benue states, it does appear the violence that disrupted peace in some north-central states is rearing its head again. Residents of affected communities are already expressing worry that the situation might degenerate into a bigger crisis if nothing is done now.
The year 2018 recorded series of attacks by armed bandits in Plateau, Benue and Zamfara states. Many killed, houses burned, and then came assurances from the government that normalcy will return. And it sure did, at least in the last few months. It appears the killings are gradually returning. Armed men are again said to be prowling the fringes of some north-central states, which used to be their targets several months back. Although Zamfara state has been in the eye of the storm lately with many killings, Benue and Plateau seem to come under the threat of violence once again. Right now, groups are beginning to call attention to the looming danger and threats by armed bandits. They obviously want to avoid stories that touch and do not want to be reminded of the woes that befell them in the past.
That there is also another press publication that seems to suggest dangerous times loom ahead in Benue State. One of such is the online newspaper publication report to the effect that harvest of death looms in Benue over Mayorati Allah's endorsement of Buhari and Jime.
Government forces have continued to reassure residents that peace will eventually return, but the armed bandits, including cattle rustlers terrorizing Plateau, Zamfara and the Kaduna-Abuja highway, appear to be daring despite several threats by the police.
The investigation into the matter is on. The Commissioner of Police wants to know the remote and immediate causes of the attack, and our team is still in there. We are pleading with members of the public to give us information that will lead to the prompt arrest and prompt arrest of the perpetrators of this dastardly act, so that they will face the true justice.
The long arm of justice may take a while before it eventually catches up with the bandits. What is, however, important to the people is their safety and a reassurance that the attacks will not rear their ugly heads again, to the point where the nation will be thrown into mourning again.
Just barely a day after 4 people were killed at a village in Barkin-Ladi local government area of Plateau State, no fewer than 7 persons comprising 5 males and 2 females have again been killed on the eve of New Year in Inding village of Barkin-Ladi local government area, with over 300 houses burnt. Eyewitnesses say the attackers came in large numbers on Monday night with firearms, shooting at villagers. Apparently, security is on the top burner at this season. We have joining us now, the news at 10, a retired military officer, Colonel Francis Okosun. Thank you for joining us on the news at 10, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Amarachi, and thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here. It's a time when we should be celebrating the New Year, of course, but it's also a time when we have to think about security, because it is at this time, incidentally, that we have issues of farmers and herders when their crisis begins, because it's a dry season, it's a rainy season. Are there reasons why we should be worried when, we're approaching the beginning of the year and expecting the rains?
Well, I think some people feel it's deja vu all over again. About this time last year, we had all those skirmishes and all those mayhem and destructions and killings in Benue State. So I don't think people should be unnecessarily worried about the influx of the herders at this time. It's in sync with the season. It's a seasonal migration. The rainy season is abated, is gone now, and herders will seek pasture for their flock. So they come to the Benue Trough, which is the first stop from that belt up north. So that's why you see them coming in there. Because we had these skirmishes last year, people say, well, they will go again. These people are here, so we ought to be wary. But I'll say something. We didn't have in place at that time the Operation Whirl Stroke that you have today. And you recall that since the emplacement of that operation last year, between then and now, we've had little or no reports of killings as we used to have them.
You think there was something peculiar about last year? Because before now, there haven't been much reporting on herdsmen and farmers clashing in that part of the country.
Yes, it's the manifestation of another variant of the security challenges we have had in the country. We started with the Niger Delta militants, we got Boko Haram, we had rustling, and then we had the Benue incident. I don't particularly read anything untoward to the movement of herdsmen at this time of the year. However, let me say that because Whirl Stroke as an operation is a marrying up of the Army, the Air Force, the Civil Defense, the Directorate of Department of State Service, and other agencies, we are more likely to have permeation down to the village level of security agents, unlike what we had in those days before January 2018. I think it will be a much different. I am not being too optimistic, but I think it will be cautious optimism now.
Well, we could dwell on this forever, and we could go back and forth on who is infiltrating where. Yeah. But what steps do you think should be taken security-wise at this time to nip, a potential violence from cropping up? Okay.
If people are doing their job, I expect at this time that the police, the Department of State Service, who are the ones, the first responders, the ones who are closest to the people, should be able at this time to read indicators and interpret them. And by the time they come up with a picture, they can take it to the agencies that will use them. Government in the first place, who then direct who is to counter such. However, if the police can handle it at this level, why wouldn't they? If they cannot handle it, then you seek a higher level of strength.
So at this point, can I ask, as a security expert,
yes,
and a former military officer,
yes,
you've observed, the goings-on in the country. Do you see pointers to potential violence in that part of the country?
Okay, Amarachi, let me tell you something. This will be my take. Any discerning person will see that there has been so much politicization of the least indication of problem. Here is a country where, look, you say, we have so much talk about crisis here and there. At the end of the day, you saw that it was a precursor to people making political statements, either movement out of one party, defection to other parties or something. Today, because you have an election coming up, anything is a potential incendiary, and therefore should be looked out for.
Thank you so much, Colonel Francis Okosu. Appreciate your being here on the News at 10. We hope you have a pleasant year ahead.
You too. Thank you very much, Amarachi.
It's time now for Business News. Here's Anne Mawodo.
Thanks a lot, Amarachi, and Happy New Year to all our viewers around the world. We begin business news tonight with the research and advisory services firm Financial Derivatives Company forecasting between 1.8 and 1.9% GDP growth for Nigeria in this year. The chief executive, Mr. Bismarck Rewane, made this prediction on Channels Television today, forecasting currency pressures, decline in fuel subsidy due to low oil prices, and the supplementary budget has also asked Nigerians to prepare for a new petrol price regime.
The currency itself will come under pressure. So get ready for the fact that the currency will come under pressure. The worst case scenario is that we have a 10% depreciation. This 36 naira added to 360.
Most likely when after the elections.
Q4, Q3. There will be a supplementary budget because this budget is going nowhere. A supplementary budget in which we will increase our investment and spending by about 20%. Subsidies will be cut. Minimum wage will kick in. More contractor debt will be securitized during the year. And the currency adjustment is inevitable in Q4. Because the price of oil is going to come down. That's it. That's the raw truth. The stock market, the bearish sentiment will continue in Q1, but for this is the time to buy. Q2, Q3, Q4, we are going to have a rally. We think that the price of rice will go up by at least 10%, right? Right now it's about 15,000. It's going to go to 16,500.
Is this where my new minimum wage will go?
Yeah. Your beans is going to go up by 10% to 22,000. And Gary will be up to 7,500. Tomatoes up also by, so we have a 10% across the board thing. But for white products, that is your refrigerators, your television, and your cooker, all of these things are going up by 15%. Your refrigerator with 250,000 naira, the big one. The television set 32 inches will be 92,000.
Did I buy a new generator today?
Yes.
Maybe I shouldn't.
And your cooker, 59,800.
Well, the African banking sector is expected to remain stable this year, despite some downside risks in financial markets. Analysts at global rating agency Moody's Investor Service expect slight acceleration in GDP growth to be supported by stable commodity prices, robust domestic demand and policy adjustment. Moody's is also expecting stricter regulation implementation for financial stability. The agency sees high asset risks and renewed foreign currency liquidity pressures partly offset by resilient earnings and high local currency liquidity. While Nigerian banks' outlook is rated B2 stable, Egyptian, Moroccan and Mauritius banks are ranked as the most resilient. The business combination between Access and Diamond Banks is becoming more realistic as customers of Diamond Bank get free access to over 3,100 automated teller machines nationwide. Access Bank made clear in a statement that either bank's ATM cards can now be used on the machines of both lending institutions without charges effective January the 1st. This development also has direct implications for other channels, including access to a total of over 32,000 point of sale terminals. With over 29 million customers, Access and Diamond Bank's merger is expected to form the largest retail lending institution in Africa by customer base. And that's business news for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, Happy New Year. I'm Anne Mawodo.